Okay, welcome back everybody to EDFT 460. I hope you've had a great Easter, and I can see that you've all been working really hard. I can see the activity that's been going on Leo, and we're now ready to jump into the next 7 weeks of creativity and imagination in education, and we've got a fair amount of work to do. So let's take week 6 as the time where we're really going to start working really hard on this again on the unit. There is going to be a shift in focus. And that shift in focus is going to be we're moving from the self. So weeks 1 to 5, we had a look at what creativity and imagination means to us. And we're now going to be making the connections and the relationships between creativity and imagination and education. So we're going to be effectively looking at curriculum. Remembering that curriculum is our bread and butter as teachers. That is what we work to and we work through and we work from. So we're now going to be start making sense of the content of the unit in terms of what we do either now as teachers or what we'll be doing once we graduate as teachers. So just to review the last few weeks very quickly, I know that the digital artifact has challenged people, but it's been, for me, it's been a great experience seeing the work that you've been doing. It's been absolutely wonderful. Learning is meant to be a challenge and learning is meant to be difficult. And you don't get it right the first time. So I want you to, as well as completing your digital artifact, I want you to remember those things that you've learned. So that was the point of the journaling. How have my creative and imaginative behaviors been enhanced? And how's it challenged me? But what have I ultimately learned from it? And where am I now? And I think that you'll be able to see that your learning trajectory has been absolutely massive. And I would argue it's been bigger than if you had just written an essay about it. You've actually produced something really authentic, and that is where learning is. I don't think that in a unit like this, writing an essay is the answer. So I wanted to congratulate you on that, and I also want to congratulate you on how you're beginning to interact on Leo now. There's a lot less of the last minute on a Sunday evening happening, and there's a far more sort of regular instance of people coming in and out of the unit and talking and also assisting each other. So if you've got a question, you're beginning to slow down and asking me, and that's not that I don't want you to ask me, but you're actually beginning to ask each other and you're beginning to answer each other, and that is absolutely fantastic. So well done. Okay, what's happening in the next 6 weeks? It's in the next 7 weeks. As I said, we're going to be looking at curriculum and we're going to be designing a framework that will embed creativity and imagination in a classroom in terms of identifying where it is, what do students need to do, what do teachers need to do, how do we facilitate creativity and imagination, and how do we evaluate and assess creativity and imagination. So that's sort of going to be jumbled up in the next 7 weeks. In week 6, I've actually just changed around the format. So we were going to be looking at communities of practice. We'll be doing that in week 7 instead. It makes sense to jump in with the nitty-gritty curriculum stuff first of all. So in week 6, we're going to be reviewing curriculum documentation in terms of where creativity and imagination appears in those documents. We're going to be looking at it at a state base, a national base, an international base, and a universal base. And the purpose of this is to bring you up to speed on what curriculum documentation in 2012 is saying about creativity and imagination. I've said all along how important it is, and hopefully you believe me, but now I actually want you to start reading it in sort of government policy, which is effectively what curriculum is, to see and acknowledge that actually it is really important, and we do need, as teachers, we do need to be doing something about it. So when you go into the Leo unit, you will see that I've got curriculum documentation in terms of the Australian curriculum and then the state-based curriculum. I've got international curriculum, and I've also got global or universal curriculum. So the Australian context is obviously very familiar to us. In the international context, I've chosen the UK and Sweden. UK is a bit contentious at the moment, but the Swedish curriculum is fantastic. And then for the global or universal one, I've chosen the International Baccalaureate. So some of you may teach in an IB school, or some of you may have been to an IB school, but basically if you're in France and you're doing IB, it's the same kind of curriculum as though you're in Australia. So it's quite a novel and excellent concept, actually. So the first thing I'd like you to do is open the curriculum document review template, which is down here at the bottom, and it will look something looking like this. And I basically want to fill it in, okay? And this is over the course of the week, so it's not a last-minute job. And what you're doing is you are coming to understand where creativity and imagination appear in curriculum documents. So you have creativity, where does it appear and what is expected of the student and the teacher, and the same thing for imagination. So literally, where in the document does the word creativity or creative or creatively appear? And you list that down. And then what does that instance of creativity in the document expect of the student and of the teacher? So if it's saying, creative thinking, it's probably not going to tell you what creative thinking is. So I want you to think, if this document is saying students will creatively think, how will they be thinking? What will they be doing? Okay, what does that actually mean? And to counter, well, not to counter that, but to go along with that, what does that mean that you as the teacher will have to be doing? You'll need to understand what creative thinking is, and you'll also need to know how to deliver creative thinking and spot creative thinking in what your students are doing. So I want both creativity and imagination to be unwrapped or mapped like that. So the first row is the state curriculum. So choose the state curriculum where you live or where you operate from. Okay. Then I want everybody to do the same thing with ACARA. So ACARA is going to be upon us next year. So everybody to do ACARA. Then I'd like you to choose one of the two international ones. So whether that's UK or Sweden, and do the same thing. I then want everybody to do the same thing with the International Baccalaureate. And then finally, I want you to choose one other curriculum. I don't want you to choose a curriculum that's already listed on Leo. Okay, I'd like to go and find a new curriculum that I haven't provided for you. So it could be Japan, or it could be India, it could be France, could be wherever. And be a little bit explorative with it. Okay, think about curriculum that may challenge you. So you fill out that document, remembering that each unit is about 5 or 6 hours of work per week at ACU. So this isn't something you need to do in 5 minutes. I'd like you to do it over the week, because at the end of the day, it's going to really help you with developing your creativity and imagination framework. And once you've completed it, you obviously need to save it, and then I'll momentarily tell you what you need to do with that. Once you've completed your review, part of the week 6 tasks and eTivity is to actually upload that onto the eTivity 5 Dropbox, which you'll find in the week 6 module, and that gets sent to me. So nobody else will see it, it just gets sent to me. I want to make sure that you've done it, okay? There are also 2 forums. So there's one about curriculum documentation in Australia, one about curriculum documentation internationally, and one universally. You are not required to input anything to this, but now that we're in week 6, I would expect you to start using it as a way of engaging with each other and as a way of actually unwrapping those documents. Okay, so I want to see self-directed learning going on. Don't just use the discussion forums because I've told you to use them, or there's a couple of percentage sort of worth in it. Actually start using them to talk to each other. You'll find it much easier. Okay, this is about sharing and caring and making the experience much better for you. So I hope that makes sense. So you use your template document and you look at creativity and imagination in terms of the state, in terms of ACARA, in terms of international, in terms of universal, and in terms of one other curriculum documents. Okay, and you fill that in, you save it, and then you submit it to the eTivity Dropbox, which you then is part of your tasks and eTivities for the week. So I hope you're all excited to be back. I'm certainly excited to be back. I've had a good break. I'm feeling a bit rested, done a lot of writing on my PhD, so ready to get my teeth back into creativity and imagination. Keep the questions coming. I answer them as soon as I can. But yeah, if you've got any questions, let me know, and let's start working really hard.